7 acres here, Green Dreams.
Like I said, we're about 45 minutes north of Tampa. We're in zone 9B. I'm still 15 miles from the Gulf. Plants don't read the books. You're going to be able to get away with some things that you're not supposed to be able to do. The idea here is to not just be a nursery. We kind of want to be that, like an Echo. Almost like an education center. We're not supposed to be growing coconuts here. I'm crazy, Paul. I think that citrus belongs in the shade. Pro tip with avocados, in the first 2 years, 3 years of development, they want protection, they want shade. Peanut butter fruit.
Peanut butter fruit. Now, how does that do out here?
Really well, actually. Really, really well. Everybody thinks Florida, and for our northerners that watch this and think Florida, A, it's tough to grow citrus here, and B, we get frost and freeze. When we get to a house, when we do a design, first thing we look at is water. Whereas in your backyard's like a wind tunnel, and you think you're just going to be able to grow fruit trees in it back there, you're going to learn the hard way.
All right, everybody, welcome to Fruitful Trees. Here we are with Pete. We're at Green Dreams. We're here in Central Florida, Spring Hill, Florida, and I've been wanting to come to this place for a long time. Pete has an amazing channel online where he does great videos. Thanks for having us come on out.
Thanks for coming out, Paul. I hope you guys are going to watch this video, maybe get some inspiration, and get out there and pound some dirt. Grow food, not grass.
All right. As he always says, don't be a grass hole, and
yeah, please
start making some changes. So we're looking forward to coming out and checking this place out today. So here we go. All right, everybody, here we are. This is Pete Canares, and we're at Green Dreams. And we're in Spring Hill, Florida, right?
Yeah, good morning, Paul. Welcome. Pleasure to have you. And yeah, welcome to our new site, Farm Education Center. This has been a couple years in the works. We've had this site for a little over 2 years now, and everything that you see here behind me was invasive species. The whole property was covered in cherry laurel, camphor trees, you name it. We had a lot of chinaberry. It was just completely infested. Homeless people, trash, garbage. This was kind of like the neighborhood party site. So it's been a long time in development. And once we finally got some clearing done, we're very fortunate. We're right on US Highway 41. We're in North Pasco. We're 45 minutes north of Tampa. We've got 44,000 cars a day going by, and everybody knows we have these super sandy soils. The main key to ingredient to building soil down here in Florida is what's over here behind me, this mulch. And the ability to get mulch here has been very, very easy. I put a sign out, and within the first day we had 5 loads. The first week I had 50. Within the first 2 months I was already having a hard time managing it. This mulch has been all the way to the road here, just 5 feet behind me. 20 foot tall. We have large windrows and piles all over the property. I had to actually cut them off. I never thought, I always tell clients there's no such thing as too much mulch, and we kind of we hit that threshold of too much mulch. Just coming in and having to manage it with the machine and move it and pile it, it's a lot of work. So, this was an event that I never expected, to put up a sign and have too much mulch, have to tell these guys to stop. We have one company, we're starting to bring it in again, but we've cut down on the mulch. And now,
are there any other nurseries in town?
Not that really do edibles. There's a couple in Tampa. There's a new Thai nursery that just popped up. There's a couple little backyard nurseries. We have Janae's Tropicals in St. Pete. That's probably the oldest nursery that does fruit trees. But otherwise, no, we're kind of the only one that's up this way. There's not a lot in the Spring Hill or northern area.
All right. So you're going to show us around this property. You say it's your new property. So tell us, what do you have? What's your old property? Your house?
Yeah, so my house, like I said, we're about 45 minutes north of Tampa. We're in zone 9B. I'm still 15 miles from the Gulf, everybody thinks Florida, and for our northerners that watch this and think Florida, A, it's tough to grow citrus here, and B, we get frost and freeze. This ability to grow mangoes and coconuts, you can't do everywhere in Florida, unfortunately. And I'm envious of Paul and what you're able to grow in your yard, because I can't reliably grow jackfruit. I can't reliably grow mangoes. I can't reliably grow coconuts. We're on that cusp where we get those 10, 15 cold fronts per year. Last year was maybe 1. That just makes it where you can't grow those species.
But you can grow peaches and figs and persimmons much more easier here, right?
Exactly. And I think we get a little bit less pest pressure. Obviously, we get a little bit higher chill hours. Grafted loquats, cold hardy avocados. There's a lot of things I've been able to grow here that I didn't think I could grow here, like Cecropia trees. You had mentioned you just went to Charles Novak's place, and that's where I saw a Cecropia tree that was as big as an oak tree. I was like, whoa, we're in Plant City. You're not supposed to be able able to grow that. And something I've always been telling people for years, you know, plants don't read the books. You know, you're going to be able to get away with some things that you're not supposed to be able to do. Like, for instance, I do really, really well with carambola, with starfruit. You know, we get probably 10,000 pounds of starfruit a year. That's kind of a subtropical, you know, that we're on the edge of. So, you know, grafted loquats, like I mentioned, cold hardy avocados, peaches, plums, pears, I mean, Asian persimmons. I mean, that's kind of like the fall mango for me here. What I've really gotten a big passion for are these eugenias, the polinias, you know, the japodicabas. I mean, they're more cold hardy also, you know, they take into the 20s. Lychee and longan is also a little bit more cold hardy. You know, as we kind of start shifting, maybe temperature wise, if this continues to happen, that's something that I'm going to look into planting out, that I think I have a better chance of growing here compared to mangoes. You know, they can take the chill a little bit better.
Sure. So what got you into edibles when you were younger? What made you decide, hey, I'm going to start growing this stuff?
Paul, that's a long story, but you know, I've been playing in the dirt my whole life. You know, my mom was always a gardener. I had a garden. My dad had a landscape company. I cut grass. You know, that's what I did for a living. I sprayed Roundup, and you could kind of say that, you know, in my early 20s, we already started kind of reading some books and, you know, making some health changes and just learning about chemicals. And when I found out the same company that made Roundup, made Agent Orange, made DDT, made aspartame, and at that time I had a young child who had the RSV virus as a child. Long story short, was on albuterol. I found out that had aspartame in it, you know, so all of a sudden I'm finding out all these companies, you know, lead back to Monsanto and make this, you know, product that we're spraying all the time that, you know, we use in our work. That was it. That was it for me. I'm one of those people that once you learn something, I can't unlearn it. You know, I have to make a change, you know. So at that time, there was nobody doing edible landscaping. You know, permaculture was a pretty unheard of word. I ordered a survival seed pack. I got that in and I actually met Jim Kovaleski. He kind of the other one that inspired me, and I came up with this idea of edible landscaping. I figured, you know, if we're going to plant stuff, you know, here I am doing landscaping and cutting grass just so people can come home and look at their pretty yards. And these bushes grow every week. They don't flower. You know, they're not feeding insects. They're not feeding us, you know, which is most important, you know. And then plus on top of all that, you know, I grew up on the water. You know, I grew up as a fisherman here in Florida, just enjoying the outdoors and the springs, and to see what these chemicals are doing to our waterways and, you know, our estuaries and our ecosystem in general. You know, it was enough to inspire me. It's time to make a change. It's time to shift, you know. After a couple of months of this edible landscaping, Jim told me you should check out permaculture, you know, and after that it was just all over with, Paul. You know, once you kind of get down the rabbit hole, you know, I hit this dead end with standard landscaping. You know, it was like there was nothing else to learn. You know, with the edible landscaping, with the permaculture, the regenerative agriculture, we're always learning a new plant. You know, there's always a new variety of mango. There's always this new species. Like the sky's the limit. You know, I'm always learning. You know, so for the ability to learn, the ability to not use chemicals, I mean, it's just everything. It was like somebody turning on the lights. You know, it all just made sense.
7 acres here, Green Dreams.
Yeah, so the property is like a big boot. We've got a few thousand foot here along the highway. My main storage area for mulch is up here. Eventually our main demo gardens and main, you know, entry gardens will be here. We're just not there yet. We're kind of working our way to the entrance. On all of my north face of the property, all of my fence lines, other than my south face, I've already started to plant clumping bamboo. We've used about 3 or 4 different clumping varieties, 1 for windbreak, 2 for soundscaping. If you notice, as we're standing here, like I said, 44,000 cars a day, it's a little loud, you know. It's a good thing. All right, we get a lot of traffic driving by. It's a bad thing. I don't want to hear this, you know. I don't really want the exhaust fumes. So we're kind of, you know, we've started to do everything we're doing just a little bit further back for A, the reason to get off the road, and B, just kind of strategically starting to plant those bamboos now through the forest so we can cut down on some of that road noise. You know, the idea here is to not just be a nursery. You know, we kind of want to be that, you know, like an Echo, almost like an education center, you know, where we're doing more events. You know, I call myself like a one-stop food forest shop. You know, I want to have the compost, the biochar, the mulch, the plants, you know, and we've kind of, you know, since I've opened this place, Originally, I kind of have a reputation, Paul, for doing big jobs all over the state. And I'm changing. I don't want to be traveling as much anymore. I'll travel with the camera, maybe go see some cool sites, but ideally, Pete wants to be more here in the Tampa Bay area. I want to be more here at my home base, do more work here, kind of in that local area. So ideally, we're bringing people here. We're doing more events here. We're doing fruit tree planting classes. We've already had a grafting class. We had an event with Jim. We're going to probably host a PDC here in fall. Just continual events, where it's kind of just like a full-time education center. Maybe we may get involved with the schools at some point.
Now, I noticed there are trees here that were already here.
Yeah.
And you're mulching these trees. I've never seen anyone, I've heard of people talk about getting rid of the trees, but you're actually mulching these trees. What do you think the mulch is doing to these trees that are already well established?
Well, like I said, we took all the invasives out. So everything you see was left once we took the invasive species out. All the China berries, cherry laurel is by far the worst invasive I've ever dealt with. I just, within the last 2 weeks, Paul, planted this entrance garden. So on by the other side of the entrance, what looks like a normal coconut, those are actually cold hardy coconuts. They'll take into the 12 degrees.
So you get coconuts here?
They don't make a coconut though.
Okay.
So it's just a coconut tree, just so everybody knows. We're not supposed to be growing coconuts here. This was more of an aesthetic appeal, so I've kind of, everybody wants to make a plan for something, but I let things kind of fall together as I go, let the landscape kind of just fall into place, So as we're coming in, I've started to landscape a lot of these tree rings because I'm going to start putting more plants in these beds, So we'll put more monsteras against the trees. We'll put more passion fruits up the trees, more gingers around them, just kind of trying to create more of an aesthetic appeal. You have to remember, I came from that, originally worked at Innisbrook, did commercial maintenance. We did a couple 100 yards a week. Everything I did was prim, proper, straight lines. No lack of mulch. So, when I start mulching out tree rings and mulching out a couple of trees that are in a close relation to each other, you just start to kind of build beds. The beds form themselves, and that's what's happened here along the other side of the driveway. And this is so interesting. This is a week old. Look at this fungus. This is amazing, Paul. Look at the white on top of this. And just a quick pro tip for you guys.
Did you spray that, put that down, or just grew naturally?
That is just natural. Wow. The fungus is among us. It's showing up, and for all your viewers and everybody watching, not all mulch is created equally. It's not. The stuff that you're getting in a bag is typically cypress. It came out of a swamp. When we get this stuff from the tree companies, it has the leaves, the twigs, and the mulch. That means you're getting that carbon-nitrogen ratio, and typically, especially in my area, it's oak-based. So when we get the oak mulch, if you look around this entire area, that climax species, that pioneer species is going to be oak. So that means the bacteria, the fungi, it's present to already break this stuff down. Yeah, you stick this stuff in the ground, it is like worm food. Now, I'll take any mulch. You can't get picky, especially if you're in an urban setting and it's hard to get mulch and you don't have what I have going on here. But that's the only guy I'm letting in is the pure oak guy, because I have that ability, because there's so much mulch out here. But yeah, if you have the option, the oak mulch with the leaves and the twigs, not just that pure carbon, it's black gold.
Sometimes near me, they're like, oh, we got mulch, but it has some coconut fronds and coconut. Is that better than nothing?
I would take it 100%. Okay. Beggars can't be choosers. Yeah. Okay. I've got friends, family in Boca, and he just called me last week. He's like, chip drop cane, it's all palm. I'm like, listen, it takes longer to break down. It's super high in silica. It's doing the job. But what we want to do is shade the soil, especially like in this area. Shading the soil is not important because we're already under the trees. I'm kind of using the understory and trying to grow things in here like chapotacaba. Like this is,
there.
This is native to the jungle in Brazil. It's an understory species. A lot of nurseries you go to have jabuticaba in full sun. I think they look way better when you have them in shade. I'm crazy, Paul. I think that citrus belongs in the shade. It's historically native to the jungle of Asia. If you're going to grow citrus in Florida, I think you need to put it in the shade, put it under an oak tree, get it in a protected area. I think they do better. I think those.
Do you think the jabo does better, in the pot or in the ground in general?
Depends on the variety. Depends on the variety. So I've found that some of these like Petrantha varieties, I say that. I have a yellow one I planted in my front yard that doesn't get any sun or any water. We'll see it when we go to my house, that fruits all the time and thrives on neglect. It's 12 foot tall. But I find the Sabras and the Reds do pretty good in the ground. If you're in a coastal area, I think the Grimmel does pretty good in the ground. But I think that's the coolest thing about the jabos, I didn't mention this earlier, but we ship plants all over the country. That's become a big business for us since COVID. I have clients in New York. I have clients in Maine. I have clients in Milwaukee growing jabos, on their porch, and now they're fruiting them, and I'm getting these pictures. So it's awesome. You don't have to be in Florida to grow a Japotacaba, and that's the coolest thing about those. As soon as I saw that tree fruiting off the trunk, I'm like how cool is this? It's like the
banana, huh?
Lots of bananas. Yeah, we've got.
They do well here?
Really, really well. When we go to my place, you'll see probably 25 racks hanging,
Wow. Okay.
Lots of turmeric, cherry of the Rio Grande over here on this side. That's a cold hardy cherry, closest to a Bing cherry. Really beautiful Eugenia, in my opinion. This was I think this is a 3-gallon tree for us. Just to give you an idea, this is an oversized cherry of the Rio Grande. This thing's got a trunk on it that's like this already. Passion fruit, kind of getting that vertical element. The idea is once this all gets lush and builds up, we're driving in, passion fruits are laying on the ground, the banana racks on each side, I actually have long-term goals of doing a winery. I don't even drink wine, but creating a value-added product from Japotacaba. That's why this whole front's going to eventually be planted with them. There's another red over here. That is another cherry of the Rio on this side, but over there's another red Japotacaba, and I'm going to just kind of plant them through that whole understory.
So they don't need, they do good in the shade.
They do good in the shade, and honestly, Paul, I think that's the thing with a lot of fruit trees that people don't realize, and most of these fruit trees, even mango, probably evolved in a rainforest, right? In an understory.
Yeah, but even though they have their understory, they reach for the sun.
They're reaching for the sun.
That's why they get really tall. So if you want to keep them small and they're getting shaded, they're going to fight and
keep on stretching.
Up.
Yeah, so production is definitely up in the sun for sure. One of our probably most productive trees in this zone is, that's my favorite variety too. That's the Yehuda loquat. I grow about 20 different grafted varieties. We do the Florida Loquat Festival every year. And loquats, they're delicious fruits. We have a long season on them, so we have ones as early as Christmas that come in at Christmas time. They're usually a little behind schedule, but some of these varieties like Sherry, Ed's Delight will come in all the way through April. So we can have a loquat season here in Florida, February, March, April, almost, 3-4 months sometimes. One other interesting fact on the loquats, I get more calls for the leaves on the loquats than I do soursop.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's become super popular for...
What do people use it for?
Same thing they use a soursop
really? They
for.
Make tea out of it?
Yeah, medicinal teas. So
wow.
Very, very, very popular. Beautiful flowers. Loquats, everybody confuses loquat with kumquat. Loquats are in the rose family. The flowers smell unbelievable. They're nowhere related to or near a citrus. These are dooryard trees. If you're in an HOA, if you're in a neighborhood, if you're somewhere where it gets cold, you can grow a loquat. These will take cold. They'll fit into the front yard. They're aesthetically pleasing, so I think they're winners for sure.
How do muscadine grapes go up here?
Really, really good.
Really well?
Really, really good, yeah. Muscadines do really well. Obviously need to be trellised, but yeah, we have a winery probably 2 blocks from here that does all muscadines. So.
And what about avocado? What avocados grow here?
So all the cold hardy varieties for sure. Some of the Central Florida ones that do really well. My favorites in this area, and my by far favorite number 1 would be Brogdon. That one has just been I lost my Brogdon tree last year. I've replanted it. I had a 6-year-old tree. I think it got hit by lightning actually. It had a giant split in it. But that was the most productive one here. Winter Mexican does pretty good. Marcus Pumpkin does pretty good. Lila, Lula, Poncho. Real quick trick on the avocados. We have 3 races. We've got the West Indies, we've got the Guatemalan, and we have the Mexican race. All the Mexican race avocados are going to be to the teens. Pro tip with avocados, in the first 2 years, 3 years of development, they want protection, they want shade. So you have to plant, something that you don't mind losing, something you don't mind cutting out of there around that tree to protect it in the first couple of years. And I almost look at like planting a box. Once that tree grows out of the box, you can cut the box loose and it can handle that sun. But in a perfect world, avocados want a little bit of dappled light in those first couple of years, and then they can take some sun. I know people that do really well in Gainesville area, Texas, North Florida with avocados. So really good one here.
All right. And then I see you have Just beautiful here, and I can just imagine what a mess this place was and how much work you put into it.
Just so you guys know, I mean, we had a crazy thunderstorm last night. The driveways are trashed, the nursery's trashed. We haven't cleaned it all up yet. It's a daily event, you know, blowing off, picking up plants. I mean, it doesn't stop. All of those right there are cuttings. I actually cut up 2 clumps last year of Textilis gracilis going along the fence. This is actually a seedling loquat that was here on the property. It's quite delicious. We might name it. It was actually that good. We'll see if it's as good next year. But Textilis gracilis all the way along the back, and those vines you see growing up are just cowpea ground cover. I was getting a lot of weed penetration, and we just wanted to get something in there to cover the soil around the bamboos and fix some nitrogen, you know, as it's developing.
Do Suriname cherries grow here?
So yeah, you know, for people wondering what you can grow in an area that gets cold, Suriname cherry is a great one. Kurumichama, you know, Cattleya guava, you know, the Jabos, you know, they're gonna take a
These
little bit more.
These are all Jabos.
Yeah, this is Jabo land.
What's up with
here.
the bricks there?
So the heavier ones like this, when we get the winds, so interesting thing here is we get crazy wind. That's another reason for the windbreak. They blow over. So less work for us if we keep the bricks in the pot. They don't fall over as often.
So these are all different varieties of Jabos?
So I would say as you go, we have huge sections. So this one right here, these are probably all of our fruiting age reds.
Now, how does Javos work if you take them out of the ground and try to move them? Do they move well or not really? Do you know?
I've only transplanted one once, and I think it's probably like any tree that's been well established. If you treat it properly and, you know, do a proper root pruning, you know, like we're basically pruning a third, and a third over a week period, you know, not instantly cutting that whole tree. You got a pretty good chance. You know, you want to really like water soak in that hole when you move it. But I've moved one. I haven't done it too many times, and it did make the transplant. We have some that we've planted here through the beds in the middle. We can kind of head in here on the other side, Paul, probably the entry point. But the red, I mean, you know, when I started collecting Japodicabas, there was the red, rare to find the Grimmel and the Sabra, you know, and now Japodicabas have become like mangoes, you know, like we have a lot of different varieties, you know, they're growing. I mean, we've got the Scarlets and the ESQs and lemongrass and this and that, you know, I mean, it's a really wide world of Japodicaba. I think they're just absolutely gorgeous trees, though. And my favorite part is, you know, I mean, let's face it, a mango, we get one time of fruit a year. You know, Japodicaba, we can have, I mean, I literally, every time I walk in my greenhouse at home, there's fruit. I've never been in there when there's not fruit. It fruits 5, 6, 7 times a year. So when you end up with multiple trees, it's almost like you always have one fruiting. So I don't know where you want to head into. You want to go into the shade zone first, or you want to go over onto this side?
You tell me. You're leading.
All right, let's head in, Paul.
All right.
So this is our little barn office. Just put some perennial pentas in here. Got a couple of grafted loquats. Pineapple guava, kind of hedge fedge, Turk's cap hibiscus. This is one of those red Japodicabas. And, you know, the best part about these are, you know, this can fruit in 5, 6 years. You know, like
the red one.
The red one, you know, we're not waiting 12, 15 years. And honestly, it's superior fruit, in my opinion. You know, it has a much thinner skin. I think it has a little bit better flavor profile to it. Does really, really well. Here's kind of a little edible landscape bed, you know, and the whole goal here is to have demonstration gardens all over the whole property, you know, showing people what's possible in the shade, what's possible in the sun. We're just kind of starting to get into some of those sun areas, but, you know, sisu spinach with Rajapuri bananas with katuk, you know, just kind of the different perennial vegetables, some taro on the inside, kind of giving it.
How are you watering all that? You got sprinklers?
So the sprinklers that hit the trees, overspray to here. We've been able to cut it down to about 15 minutes a day since we've been getting rain. And I have overhead to this area. We wanted to do drip. It was just going to be such a trip hazard, you know, with people having to walk through here. So we had to have something simple that would spray the area, you know, get the plants wet enough where there's really nothing in the bed. Like that's the closest sprinkler to that bed. So it just gets a little bit of overspray.
So, and when you put this down, like how long will this cloth last before you got to replace it?
I've never seen the limit of it. I have 13-year-old mat at my other house that wasn't as thick as this. That's still in place.
Wow.
So this is super, super heavy duty. This is like a 4 or 6 mil commercial grade weed mat. Like you can't buy that at Home Depot or Lowe's. That's commercial order only. Yeah, it'll last a really.
Now, if you get the lesser kind and you double up, does that do the trick or not really?
Whatever you do, don't get the one that's like the fibrous one. That's kind of like the Home Depot, Lowe's. They don't sell it. They don't even have anything that's closer to this. The Lester one, which I have, is on 13 years. So this is twice as thick as the one that I have that lasted 13 years already.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and we did put a hard base underneath here. We put a crushed concrete. This way, once we do water, like we knew we were going to be watering this, we didn't want a ton of settling and holes and, you know, people walking through here and, you know, breaking ankles and everything else. Yeah, this is probably the most exciting Japoticaba, in my opinion, in the last couple of years, just because of the speed of it. You know, not only is it a really pretty tree, if these had fruits on them, they'd be on the trunk right now, but this is 3 years from seed on the Scarlet. You know, that's pretty fast.
Scarlet. Okay.
There's a lemongrass one over there. I believe we've got some Campo Ramon over here. Yeah, and here's an example of one that went in the ground. You know, it's not doing unbelievable. This is a Grimmel. That was a Sabara. Sabara definitely seems to do a little bit better in the ground. We kind of treat our Japoticabas like we do blueberries, you know, so we try to plant them with crushed pine fines or a peat moss or something to build up the acidity in the soil. You would think being under the oak trees would be the perfect acidity for them, you know, which at my house, they seem to do really good in the understory. This is a Lujan variety. I brought this one in from a guy in Argentina. This is a seed that I imported from a guy in Taiwan called Taiwan Tiger.
Has it fruited yet?
Not yet. No. Close.
So once they fruit, will you take the seeds and reproduce them?
Yeah. So the value for me on these rare ones is once they start to fruit, I'll just replant the seeds. And
now, are the seeds are they true to seed or no?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you get a plant a red seed, you're getting a red one.
100%.
Very nice.
Yeah. That's the best part about them. You know, there is some grafting within, but it's more for like the rare varieties that we wouldn't want to wait on, or to take this variegated one that we, you know, that it's rare. It's going to come up the same from seed like that.
Now, can you take a cutting and put it in the ground, or they don't work like that?
There's been some experimenting with cuttings, but they're very difficult. You know, like I see like 10% of cuttings taking back, and it takes a really, really, really long time. To me, it's not worth it. I've seen some air layering be done, but they take a really long time to take. You know, I would say if you're going to grow Japoticaba from seed or grafts, probably the two top ways, the easiest ways.
Does white sapote grow in this area?
It does. I got a big white sapote at my house.
Wow.
Yeah.
What variety do you have?
Young Hands, I think.
Oh, wow.
Young Hands and Redlands. I had both varieties. Yeah. Interestingly enough,
They fruit.
They fruit really well.
Wow.
Big fruits. Yeah. They're in the citrus family. So I have one that they're distant related to citrus that kind of has some weird curling on the leaves going on, but they're in pretty good shade.
Wow.
And they've been fruiting well too.
Looking forward to seeing that.
I really like the new growth on the white sapote. It's beautiful when it pushes out with that pink and then turns into that green leaf. You know, they're gorgeous trees. But yeah, back here, I mean, kind of the same thing. You know, I planted an avocado in the shade. We'll see how it does. You know, just so you guys know, these beds that you were seeing around these trees, this is about 9 months old. Like, we're coming up on a year, I think, in October, that we planted these last year.
How long have you had this new property?
About 2.5 years. It took about 2 years just to get it cleared. I did it all on my own, you know. It's been no small undertaking.
You got katuk, yeah? Yeah,
some katuk. I'm just noticing, I guess we got our first rack of bananas over here. Doesn't take long. And, you know, since now we've brought the chickens over here, you know, when we clean out the chicken coop, we take the manure and we bring it over to the bananas. So that was fresh put on there, you know. So they are getting a little extra attention now, a little extra
What kind
food.
of bananas are those?
I believe this one is Dwarf Orinoco. I have a map. I have to look at it.
Okay.
My favorite is definitely, I grow about 35 varieties of bananas. I like any of the Namois personally. Those are the thin skin. Those tend to be my favorites. Grow about 10 different varieties of turmeric, you know, a couple different varieties of katuk.
Now, I only know two, the variegated and non-variegated. Are there other varieties?
I have one that's, I guess you could say, a split between the two. I'll show you when I get to the house.
Okay.
It's like half variegated. It's kind of cool looking.
Okay.
That is one of my favorite for picking and eating, you know, the new growth on it. Everybody always seems to like it. You get, you know, you hand it to them, they're like, wow, that tasted really good. White Petranthas over here. We should have some white Arianas around here. That's the Red Lantern Japoticaba.
And how do you have any issues with raccoons or squirrels?
Interesting you say that. there's things that the squirrels are eating here they've never eaten at my other property. The other property, we've kind of learned to live with them. We've got enough trees planted, you know, the animals get some and we get some and we're good in the middle. But here, like the squirrels are eating my gingers. I did bring a big mother Japotacaba. It ate all the fruit off of it. So we got to get some more trees planted so we have enough to share with the squirrels, I think. But there's not a ton of, I haven't had a single armadillo here. I haven't seen a single raccoon here. I don't think I have any deer here. So compared to my other house, you know, where we have this big reserve behind us, I get deer coming into my property. I mean, you know, we get a little. Do
you bring your dogs here or are they only at your other property?
Only other property, but all my neighbors have dogs. Okay. So that might have something to do with it. You know, this guy has Rottweilers, you know, and so on. I think this one is Saba. That's a pretty big banana. I think that's got a lot of height growing to still go on it too.
Wow. Yeah, for small yards, you know, you might disagree, but bananas and vines are challenging when you do it in a high density and small property. They take up a lot of space and a lot of work.
They can take up a lot of space, yeah. They definitely can. I like the dwarf varieties for the small yards. I think bananas are so dang delicious, though. You know, it's like you got to figure out a way. We always try to, when we get to a house and we do a design, first thing we look at is water, you know, and how can we tie, and access, obviously, you know, how can we tie the water into the gutters into the feeding the landscape, whether it be a banana
How deep's
pit.
the well here?
156.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get you a glass of that water. You can taste it before we're done. Don't worry.
Nice.
Yeah. So these are mostly kind of getting into different plinias, lots of grimmels, which I only have probably 5 or 6 grimmels fruiting. I have probably 40 reds that are fruiting. The grimmel takes a little bit longer. That's probably 7 years. That is a really big fruit, though. A lot of people like that one. And that one seems to be more salt tolerant. You know, that was originally grown down in the Keys. Pretty tree, and my red is still going to be my favorite, though.
So that's your main crop here is the double color.
Because of the cold hardiness, that's one that I've invested pretty heavily into, you know, in buying different varieties and so on. Yeah, Japotacabas, I would say if I had to pick a top 3, it'd be like loquats, mulberries, and Japotacabas. Like we do really good with mulberries too.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah. Mulberry season here is, I mean, I'm still eating mulberries in my smoothies from mulberry season. Wow. And I haven't even cut back the trees and harvested again. So, and I eat 2 smoothies a day. So, yeah, lots of mulberry smoothies going down. San Jose variety, which is just a smaller leaf, a little bit different, but, you know, like look at this white one. This is the Ariana white too. Beautiful new growth.
Is it literally white on the outside?
No, it's more of like a green. Unfortunately, it's not literally white, but they're really sweet. I will say they're one of the sweetest Japotacabas. They're really, really good. Fig season right now. We're doing really good with figs.
Like you get figs up here.
Oh, really good with figs. Yes. Forgot to. Yeah, that's something we actually have fruit on. We should probably go see. These are all fruiting age whites.
So you grow figs in the ground or in pots. What do they do better here?
They do better in pots. Yeah. Ones in the nursery look really good. The ones I had in the ground that I planted 13 years ago, most of them died off from nematodes, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, bananas.
Yeah, organic matter, you know, lots of compost is key. Everybody gets excited when they see the turmeric flower this time of year. That's always a popular one. I don't know if you've had one of these. These just had some fruits on them last week. This is a weird Eugenia. Delicious little fruits on them, though. They were just fruity.
What color?
Orange. The uvea. You know, another one shouldn't be growing, but we have clients that come from all over the state. You know, we're kind of a destination nursery. We've got clients in Tampa, St. Pete, you know, and that's a wild thing. An hour from here in St. Pete, you're growing coconuts, you're growing mangoes, you know. But yeah, jackfruit, absolutely one of my favorite fruit trees. Ginberry, I don't know if you've seen that one before. Those are pretty interesting. They literally taste like a gin. Got a bunch of sugar apples.
How did Nona's do up here, the sugar apples?
I've had some sugar apples fruit in the shade. Not too bad, you know. They're on the edge. They're definitely worth growing. You know, if you wanted to really push the edge, you keep in a container. Like, you know, you're definitely not growing soursop here. I have friends that grow them and fruit them in pots, though. You know, you can definitely keep them in a container. Miracle fruit. These are super popular.
That's great. I love miracle fruit. How many varieties? You got 2, right?
I've got 2 varieties, yeah.
Yeah.
This one has a really awesome bush form to it. The leaves are almost a little bit different. Kind of like, almost looks like a Christmas
Out of every
tree.
fruit I have in my yard, the miracle fruit's the one I eat the most.
Really?
Yeah, I put it with, I eat it, then I do lemon water. It's like lemonade.
Have you tried coconut after a miracle fruit?
No,
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It's a whole new coconut. Yeah, so Charles Novak, you can thank for that one. That was air layer.
Utopia. Yeah.
Probably air layer I originally got from his house and planted it here. There's a couple of fruits on it now.
Oh, wow, it's fruited. Wow.
Oh yeah, it's
Nice.
fruited a couple times, yeah. There's a passion vine, you know, getting ready to hopefully take off up the tree. Edible flowered Turk's cap hibiscus, edible flowered.
Can you get dragon fruit here?
I haven't been real successful with dragon fruit.
Okay.
I had one in the greenhouse and I noticed when we got it out of the rains, it did a little bit better, but I haven't replanted one here yet. Yeah, there's some fruit on the miracle fruit.
So they grow fine here. In the ground or in the pot? What's better for that here?
For dragon fruit?
Yeah, in the miracle fruit.
I like those in a pot, personally. I don't think I've even put one in the ground. They're so slow growing. You know, I worry like if you put something like that in the ground, you're just going to step on it. Or you got to keep like a cage around it. Like it's going to take forever to get to
used ones in the ground.
You do?
Huge.
Oh, wow. Did you buy them big?
No.
Really? They grew big?
Oh, yeah.
How long have you had them?
A long time.
Okay. You put some
the
time in
best.
there.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. Yeah. Peanut butter fruit.
Peanut butter fruit. Now, how does that do out here?
Really well, actually. Really, really well. I'm surprised by this one, too. This is a little bit more cold hardy than I would have thought. This one will have fruit here soon. This one's all flowered out. Yeah, these are impressively cold hardy, just like the carambola. You know, like starfruit is by far my most productive tree on the farm. I just hard prune them all. We have a little slower production this year because of the drought, you know, coming out of the drought. The girls just cut back all the chaya. That obviously gets huge. Can't keep up with it. Yeah, I mean, this is a 9-month-old starfruit. Let's see, it's probably got fruits on it. You know, pro tip, starfruit, 100% wind intolerant, 100% wants to be in the shade. Like if it's getting blown on, it's not going to be happy. You know, and this one, see all the little fruits?
Yeah.
It's coming on for a little tree. These guys are such overachievers. I've seen them ripen fruit in a pot, and it doesn't seem to slow them down, you know, where some trees I feel like get stunted, Paul, if we let them fruit at that too young of an age, you know. More banana shell gingers and kind of just chias to the demo gardens over here. And this is something I told myself I would never do. I'm kind of anti just because of the pest problems down here. But I started carrying some citrus. We get so many people asking.
You have the finger limes?
Had. Those were very hot. They went very quick. They also seem to be very greening resistant. That's what everybody was excited about.
The new ones are. The small leaves.
Yeah, so we keep them in the shade. We tell people to plant them in the shade if you want to try them.
I heard the sugar bell is resistant to the leaf miner.
They're supposed to be?
Yeah.
Really?
That's the new thing out now. That's so they're...
Yeah, I grew up eating citrus, you know, so to not have citrus would have been pretty sad, you know.
Yeah.
I hope to get lucky with it, you know, and get a couple that do really well here. One day. So lots of gingers with the edible flowers on them. That's all turmeric, ginger, taro, malanga, root crops kind of going back through there.
So if somebody buys a ginger or a turmeric, what are they buying it in a pot and put it in the ground at home? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah. And sometimes, you know, if you're buying in the wintertime a turmeric, you're buying a pot of dirt. You know, and you're just getting a big root, basically, if the plant is dormant. Yeah, hydiciums. Got lots of different butterfly gingers. I do a lot of ginger tea, so I grow a lot of just, you know, ginger. I like the galangal a lot for tea. I like the regular, just edible. Some mamey. Probably definitely not supposed to have that.
No, that won't grow up here.
I've had a couple of clients. I think the thing with mamey is the fruit takes so long to ripen. You know, these are on the tree for like a year. Yeah. I've seen these mature in Palm Harbor.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen them in St. Pete. I've seen them in Largo. So we're not too far from being able to grow mamey. We're just not doing it here.
What varieties are those?
Key West.
Okay.
Yeah. And then a lot of perennial vegetables, Paul. These are, you know, I call this like the perennial salad bar. You know, we do moringa being the most popular, longevity spinach, Okinawan spinach, sisu spinach, Suriname spinach, and then I have probably 4 different varieties of that Togan spinach, you know, which are very popular too. And then of course the katuk, you know, where I tried to plant out some demo beds, you know, just to show people, you know, like that's a C longevity spinach. You know, I mean, it literally, it just thrives on neglect, you know, and I think that's, you know, that's the thing too, like, is these are great ground covers underneath fruit trees. So now we have our fruit tree, now we have our medicinal ground cover growing underneath it, you know, and if we can, I think pro tip for you guys growing fruit trees, I can't stress it enough. There is no such thing as planting a tree too high, and there is no such thing as packing a tree in too tight. And number 3, grass is the biggest killer of trees. I can't tell you how bad it is to let a tree get choked out by grass. You know, I believe in nucleus type plantings and not just putting grass trees into the middle of grass rings in yards. I've seen more failures than I've seen successes that way. I showed up to a client's house last week for a consultation. All my trees are doing terrible. I look into the yard and she's got peaches and plums and loquats and avocados all in these rows 10 foot apart in the grass, and the grass is smack up against the tree. Not one visible graft. You know, and then every tree I could touch was very, very, very loose. Half of the ones I touched had ants coming up them. You know, loose trees, trees with grass. The grafted trees need to be high and tight. We need to think about a ground cover. You know, if it's not an edible ground cover, it's a bean type ground cover, it's a perennial ground cover, mulch, anything. You know, that is going to give you a little bit more success though with these trees. I've seen more failures than anything with trees that are just planted too deep. What ends up happening is that moisture builds up around the cambium layer at the graft point, and usually ants come in and kind of just start to eat that down, and it'll just rot away and eventually kill the tree. Then the biggest failure, I've learned the hard way. I do sell dragon fruit, but we can't grow dragon fruit. More cherry de Rio Grande. We sell coconuts for people to drink. So I have a friend that delivers. He's got a contract with Busch Gardens, and he literally delivers fronds every week from an organic coconut farm over by you in Jupiter to the koalas here at Busch Gardens, and he brings me the coconuts to buy at that same time. So today is my coconut pickup day. I'll actually leave at about 12:30. I'll go pick up the coconuts, and then we sell people cold coconuts. Nothing like that experience of the nature's bottled water after you've been out here cooking in the sun. So
very nice.
Yeah, so this is the shade nursery. We've got a couple macadamia nuts left. Those have been really hard to get. A couple patombas, some sundrop, a lot of native plants. You know,
macadamia nuts. Everyone I know who has them just got tremendous squirrel issues because obviously they feed the squirrels.
It's a very good luck with squirrels. Yeah, it is very tough. Yeah, most people I know that have macadamia nuts spend a lot of time catching and trapping and trying to get rid of the squirrels. So here's one of my old reds. This is all flowering right now. And that's what I was saying. This thing never stops flowering, never stops fruiting. The only reason there's probably not a fruit on it is because of the squirrels here.
Now, for a tree that big, is that pot a good size or should it be up potted?
I think it's fine in that pot. I actually find that the stress with those roots being a little bit tighter on the Japoticabas, particularly because they don't have a taproot, they do great. Now,
so are they going to get root bound ever, or you got to eventually go up?
More than getting root bound, I find that the soil will break down. Japoticabas, for some reason, don't like a lot of worms in the pots. So once that peat has broken down past the point of being like a peat moss still and you get infested with worms, it will slow them down. It's like the worms almost eat the roots on these trees, and they're like those fine hair roots. So every once in a while, what we have noticed is the tree will start to turn yellow. Sometimes it's chlorotic. Sometimes it needs like a chelated iron. Most of the time it's just a soil condition, and we do a soil change out for all of our Japoticabas. We use like an 85% peat, 15% perlite. That's kind of been the standard, got that from Adam, got that from John Travis, the guys that have been doing this a while. And then, lots of plants, Paul, to bring in beneficial insects, predatory insects. I tell people all the time, when we're planting these systems, we're planting, 60, 70% for us, but that other 30% is to attract beneficial and predatory insects. We want to create a healthy, living, self-maintaining ecosystem. Like nature will take care of itself. We just have to give her the tools, So, we carry from the elderberries to the fire bushes to even the non-native stuff like the sweet almond and the vitex that we find are just, some of the best plants to bring in, these beneficial predatory insects, bees, no matter what it may be. So over here on this side, on the kind of the drip lines is what we'll call them. We have olives, cherry de Rio Grande, some ice cream bean, But all of my mangoes and avocados, I keep on drip. They just don't like the overhead water.
Sure.
So in a perfect world, everything would be on drip. It's nearly impossible to do it all on drip. We have an area of overhead. We've got a big area of drip, got an area of drip, got an area overhead. You know, we're kind of a little bit of the in-between. But and then we do a lot of clumping bamboo. You know, I think that, you know, you can't just go putting, you know, if you live on a big open yard and you're surrounded by big open yards and your backyard's like a wind tunnel and you think you're just going to be able to grow fruit trees in that back there, you're going to learn the hard way. It's not going to be easy. You know, that one of the first things that we do is, you know, kind of in that design phase is setting up those windbreaks, you know, creating that protection to be able to grow those trees, you know. If you have harsh conditions, it's not easy. You know, when trees have a little bit more protection, they definitely thrive a lot better, you know. So that's why we talk about that, you know, the dense plantings and eventually thinning and, you know, giving those trees room to come up.
Let me ask you about this ground,
Sure.
The rocks on the ground. Did you think about doing like tar or something? Not tar, what do they call it? The black?
Yeah. So in a perfect world, I would like to do concrete.
Concrete.
It's about $400,000 bucks. Blacktop was $200,000 bucks. Right now, I've got about 40 grand invested in gravel. I don't like the chemicals from the blacktop. It's not forever. You know, you got to constantly recoat it. I think what we'll probably end up doing is the same thing I do at my other house. It's just once, twice a year, add a little bit of gravel to this and just keep that constant gravel on top. This way, you know, if you run it over enough, we're not getting a lot of weed penetration. Like, we don't really have to spray the driveway. We get weeds through the mulch. If we mulch this every 3 months, the mulch is keeping the weeds down over here. You know, right now it's a little messy from that storm we had last night. I'll blow the mulch back off of there, you know, or off of the rocks onto that side. But does it get dusty in dry season when people are coming in? Yeah, you know, in a perfect world, I would love to have some type of hard base. Just the cost. I mean, when you have almost a half a mile long driveway, you know?
Yeah. And what you're teaching, and people need to understand, this is on massive scale, but you teach people how to do something like this in their own backyard.
Exactly.
You know, and keep it, you know, it don't matter. You don't need a lot of land to do this. Everything he just showed us can be done in a small backyard. Yeah,
if every other house did this in these small neighborhoods, I mean, you know, you'd be buying nothing from the grocery store eventually. You know, I mean, there's certain things you'd have to buy, but that's the idea. You know, we try to do this on all scales. You know, you've done a lot of big projects, Paul. I've done a lot of small projects, and I could tell you, I love the big projects. I'd like to do like one a year, but the small ones are fun. It's really fun to get in and out of a backyard and to go back and to see it, and the client to just taking it to a whole nother level. You know, they've added more on their own. They're having a good time with it. They're eating from it. They've told their neighbor because they've been so successful. This has done great. They've got them excited. You know, and that's what this is all about. This is why I've been doing these videos forever and just trying to get people excited, Paul. I'm just trying to inspire people that anybody can do this. You don't have to hire me. You can watch my videos. I give it all away too. You know, you can come here. We do consultations on site now where, you know, I'll sit down with the client for an hour, bring your survey, bring your pictures. You know, let's sit down and talk about your yard. I'll help you design it out, and I'll send you on your way with a recipe of something that would work, or I'll come out to your house. You know, we kind of do it at all different scales and levels.
Very cool, man. I'm going to put your link below to your YouTube channel and also to your website and other links to contact. Everybody definitely check that out. This amazing place. They're right outside, a little north of Tampa. I definitely recommend you come and check this place out. But you do ship in the mail if somebody, and you do consultations in the mail as well. I mean, over the phone, or?
So I don't do phone consultations yet. We do some Skype calling stuff. I mean, I do phone consultations, but not like a Skype type call. But for basically speaking, on site or here for the consultation, I'll come to your house no matter where you are in the state of Florida, or you can come to me right here on site. We're open Tuesdays through Fridays, 9 to 5, and Saturdays, 8 to 3.
All right. Well, thanks for showing us around.
Thanks for coming out, Paul.
All right, everybody. There it was. That was Pete, and this is an amazing place. Definitely get on out of here. I'm going to put the links below. We're going to come back in another video and go visit his house. This is his newer project, but his house he's been working on a long time, so I'm looking forward to making a video there as well. I'll connect the links once those are done, but definitely check them out. Check his links out. And if you're growing a small yard, big yard, projects like this or a nursery, and you want me to come out and feature on the channel, my email's below. Check that out and contact me. Until then, everybody, thanks for watching. Have a great day and keep growing. If you want to see more videos about avocados and the different seasons and how they taste, plus many other tropical fruits, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Fruitful Trees. Thank you and keep growing.